$80,000. That's what a 20% down payment looks like on today's average home. Most people will never save that, but you don't have to. I want to walk you through why the traditional path to home ownership has become mathematically impossible for most people right now, and what the data actually says about the options that still work. Hi, my name is Matthew. I've been a mortgage broker and a real estate agent. I spent years working inside the housing and mortgage industry. And what I saw from the inside is exactly what the numbers outside confirm. Here's what's actually happening. The median home price in the United States is around $400,000. A 20% down payment on that is $80,000. For most people trying to get there, rent is consuming the majority of their monthly income. Groceries, utilities, and everyday expenses take most of what's left. What remains after all that is rarely enough to make a meaningful dent in an $80,000 target. And home prices have outpaced wage growth for years. So every month someone spends saving, the target moves further away. It's not a willpower problem, it's a math problem. The traditional advice, save more, spend less, be patient, does not solve the math problem. It just delays the moment when people realize the math still doesn't work. Here's what most people don't understand about the down payment requirement. The 20% figure is not a law. It's a rule of thumb that became conventional wisdom decades ago, when home prices were a fraction of what they are today. It made sense then. It doesn't reflect the reality that most buyers face now. When people treat 20% as the only option, they're solving for a number that was never designed for today's market. That's why the math keeps not working. But when you look at what the data actually shows about how people are successfully getting into homes today, a different picture emerges. First, the data on low down and zero down payment loans. According to the National Association of Realtors, the median down payment for first-time buyers is around 6 to 8%, not 20%. And millions of buyers are using VA loans, USDA loans, and FHA loans to get in with 0 to 3.5% down. These are not loopholes. They're mainstream loan programs used by a significant percentage of buyers every year. If you qualify for any of these programs, the math changes immediately. An FHA loan on a $400,000 home requires around $14,000 down at 3.5%. That's still a significant amount, but it's a very different savings target than $80,000. And the down payment on a VA or a USDA loan would be zero. Second, the data on affordable home options. The average cost to build a traditional home in the U.S. is currently $160 to $220 per square foot. But you could go with an alternative home for less. A tiny home can often be found in the $30,000 to $60,000 range on the lower end, though costs can go significantly higher depending on the size and the finish level you choose. And a barn-dominium home can provide a full-sized alternative and can often be built for significantly less than a traditional home. And when the purchase price drops, the down payment drops with it. And the financing options available on a $50,000 home look very different than on a $400,000 home. Third, the data on location. Home prices within major metro areas average 2 to 3 times higher than home prices in surrounding rural counties. In some markets, the gap is even larger. The same square footage that costs $450,000 inside of a metro area can cost $150,000 or less just 60 to 90 minutes away. Location is the single biggest variable in the down payment equation. But most people never expand their search radius. Here's a real example of how these numbers came together for us. We bought 5.5 acres of land for $25,000 with a $2,500 down payment and a $200 a month mortgage through a local credit union. Then we used rent-to-own financing to get our shed cabin on the property for a $1,000 deposit. The total upfront cost to get land and the start of our shed cabin was just $3,500. That's the math that became possible when we combined location, an affordable home option, and alternative financing together. $80,000 feels impossible, but as we've seen, that number was never the only option. Homeownership is not out of reach for everyone. One specific path to homeownership is out of reach for most people. And that's really what the 3 keys to affordable home ownership are designed to address: location, housing type, and financing. The data shows that each key individually can move the math in your favor. Combined, they can change it dramatically. You don't have to save $80,000, but you do have to be willing to look at the numbers differently. Want to learn more? Click the link.